The Chupacabra, Legend of the Goat Sucker, a deep dive documentary. Chapter 1. The Outbreak, Puerto Rico, 1995. March, 1995. Canovanas, Puerto Rico. A small island known for its vibrant culture and lush landscapes suddenly became the epicenter of a global mystery. It started with the livestock. Farmers began finding their goats, sheep, and chickens dead in their pens. But these weren't typical predator attacks. There were no missing limbs, no signs of struggling. Just small, circular puncture wounds on the neck, and the bodies drained of every drop of blood. The local media dubbed it El Chupacabra, literally, the goat sucker. Madeline Tolentino, the first eyewitness to provide a detailed description, spoke of a creature that defied biology. A bipedal beast with large, glowing red eyes, spikes running down its back, and thin, clawed arms. Fear spread like wildfire. Was it a secret government experiment gone wrong? An extraterrestrial visitor? Or something much older, awakened from the shadows of folklore? The two faces of the beast. As sightings multiplied, a strange phenomenon occurred. The creature began to change its shape. In the early years, the Chupacabra was almost always described as reptilian, a 3 to 4 foot tall alien-like figure that could leap over fences with ease. This classic version captured the imagination of the 90s, appearing in television shows, songs, and even political cartoons. As the legend crossed borders into Mexico and the United States, the physical description shifted. The bipedal lizard was replaced by a 4-legged scavenger. This North American Chupacabra looked like a skeletal dog or coyote, hairless, with leathery, bluish skin and a pronounced overbite. Why did the monster evolve? Was it a different species entirely, or was our collective perception being shaped by the environments we lived in? The global spread. The Chupacabra was perhaps the first myth of the internet age. Before the late 90s, local legends took decades or centuries to travel. But the goat sucker moved at the speed of light. From the humid jungles of Central America to the arid plains of Texas, the reports were eerily consistent. In Mexico, it was blamed for the deaths of hundreds of animals in the state of Sinaloa. In Texas, residents claimed to have captured the beast's body. The name Chupacabra became a catch-all term for any unidentifiable predator. It had become more than just a monster. It was a cultural phenomenon that united the Americas in a shared sense of dread and fascination. The science of the shadow. A laboratory setting. A scientist looking through a microscope. DNA sequencing graphs. In the mid-2000s, science finally caught up with the legend. Several Chupacabra carcasses were found in Texas and submitted for DNA testing. The results were surprising, yet grounded in reality. These weren't aliens or hybrids. They were coyotes, dogs, and raccoons. But why did they look so monstrous? The answer was sarcoptic mange, a severe skin infection caused by mites that causes hair loss, skin thickening, and a bluish-gray discoloration. These animals, weakened by disease, were unable to hunt their usual fast-moving prey, leading them to target easy livestock. But science can only explain the physical bodies. It cannot explain the mass hysteria or the vivid, consistent eyewitness accounts of the alien lizard. Perhaps the Chupacabra exists in the space between biology and the human psyche. The science of the shadow. A laboratory setting. A scientist looking through a microscope. DNA sequencing graphs. In the mid-2000s, science finally caught up with the legend. Several Chupacabra carcasses were found in Texas and submitted for DNA testing. The results were surprising, yet grounded in reality. These weren't aliens or hybrids. They were coyotes, dogs, and raccoons. But why did they look so monstrous? The answer was sarcoptic mange, a severe skin infection caused by mites that causes hair loss, skin thickening, and a bluish-gray discoloration. These animals, weakened by disease, were unable to hunt their usual fast-moving prey, leading them to target easy livestock. But science can only explain the physical bodies. It cannot explain the mass hysteria or the vivid, consistent eyewitness accounts of the alien lizard. Perhaps the chupacabra exists in the space between biology and the human psyche. Researchers later noted similarities between Tolentino's description and the creature's sill from the 1995 science fiction film Species, which had been released in Puerto Rico shortly before the first reported sighting. Whether this was coincidence or subconscious influence remains debated. Reports shared common themes: livestock attacks, nighttime sightings, and unusual-looking animals, but descriptions varied considerably from country to country. DNA testing more specific, DNA analysis performed on several so-called chupacabra carcasses consistently identified them as coyotes, dogs, or coyote-dog hybrids suffering from advanced sarcoptic mange. One additional scientific explanation. Veterinarians also note that puncture wounds from dogs or coyotes can leave relatively little external blood because much of the bleeding occurs internally or coagulates quickly, creating the impression that the victim had been drained. For more than 3 decades, the chupacabra has refused to disappear. Long after the headlines faded and television crews packed away their cameras, stories continued to emerge from isolated farms and forgotten villages. A rancher hears strange cries echoing across an empty field. A family wakes to find their livestock dead under mysterious circumstances. Someone catches a fleeting glimpse of glowing eyes watching silently from the darkness before vanishing without a trace. Perhaps each account has its own explanation. A diseased predator, a mistaken identity, fear amplified by darkness and uncertainty. Science has answered many of the questions surrounding the chupacabra, identifying many of the alleged creatures as coyotes, dogs, or other animals afflicted with severe mange. Yet even the strongest scientific explanations cannot completely erase the power of a story that has taken root in the human imagination. Legends endure because they speak to something deeper than facts alone. They remind us that no matter how advanced our technology becomes, there are still moments when the unknown stares back at us from the edge of the light. Across every culture and every generation, humanity has created monsters, not simply to frighten us, but to give shape to our greatest uncertainties. The chupacabra is the latest chapter in a tradition that stretches back thousands of years. What makes this legend remarkable is not merely the creature itself, but how rapidly it spread. From a handful of reports in Puerto Rico, the story crossed oceans and borders, evolving with every telling. In one country, it became a reptilian humanoid with glowing red eyes. In another, it transformed into a hairless canine prowling the countryside. Each version reflected the fears, beliefs, and landscapes of the people who claimed to encounter it. The chupacabra became more than an animal. It became a symbol, a modern myth born in an age of satellite television, newspapers, and the early internet. It proved that even in an era of instant communication and scientific discovery, mystery still has a place in our world. And perhaps that is why the legend refuses to die. Because somewhere, tonight, a farmer may once again discover an unexplained attack. Somewhere, a witness may swear they saw something impossible standing just beyond the fence line. Somewhere, another story will begin with the simple words, "I know what I saw." Whether those stories are rooted in misunderstood wildlife, folklore passed from one generation to the next, or something that science has yet to explain, they continue to remind us that curiosity is one of humanity's greatest strengths. Every mystery invites investigation. Every legend asks a question, and every unanswered question keeps us searching. Maybe the Chupacabra never truly existed. Maybe it always did. Or perhaps the real mystery was never the creature itself, but why the legend continues to survive in a world that believes it has already discovered every monster until the next unexplained encounter. The Chupacabra waits in the shadows. Until the next unexplained encounter, the Chupacabra waits in the shadows. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that like button. Until next time, be safe.